Hey everyone, before we get started today, we just want to let you know that the following discussion may contain triggering and/or sensitive material. There's discussion of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and especially sexual harassment in the workplace and online that may be triggering. If you feel triggered by any of these topics, there are many resources out there that can help. Hey everyone, welcome back to Throwin Down with Jess and Lily. I'm Lily Caffrey-Levine.
I'm Jess King.
And we're going to be getting into some of the top stories in sports today on a little more of a darker tone of an episode. And we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that recently came out about the football team in Washington and their organization and a lot of sexual assault that's happened in the industry. This obviously isn't super fun for anybody, especially us being in the industry, to talk about, but it's very important to share our side of it, to look at the facts, to look at what's going on, and to really acknowledge it and address it. So before we get into it, I just wanted to say that whenever I think about this, I can't help but reflect on how easy I feel like I've had it in the industry thus far in the little time I've kind of been in it. And this isn't to brag and say that I've had it so great, but I think I've come of age in the industry with really, really fantastic, positive women role models and mentors and friends like Jess in the industry, which I think 20 or 15 or 10 or even 5 years ago was not the case at all. And I think we've both been really lucky to have really great male friends and mentors in the industry who have been great allies, who have kind of stood up for things and spoken out against some stuff when they've seen it. But the upsetting thing about how lucky I feel to have gotten it is that this is not the case for everybody. It's the case for very few people. And even with how lucky I've had it, things still aren't good. And so when someone who feels like they've really gotten the good end of things feels like there's still a problem, then there's very obviously a problem.
Huge problem.
So I don't know if you had anything to say on that, Jess, before we get into what happened in Washington.
Not really. I mean, we are kind of blessed. We have great women that work, and you kind of said everything perfectly. We've had very similar experiences growing in this industry so far together in the 4 years that we've been at college. And we have had great professors and things, but it's still an issue. There's a problem, and we need to talk about it so we can begin to let change happen.
Yeah.
And change has happened. We've come a long way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's so much more to go. There's ways that we can fix things. And this article coming out right now just proves that it's 2020 and other women who've come before us can talk about way worse situations that they've also experienced and ways that the industry has changed. But now we're still seeing similar things happening.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah. And I think I might be incorrect in this, but what I'm kind of starting to gather is that the thing that's changed has been the support system. It's that there's now more women in the industry that you can lean on and that'll be there for you. It's not the sexual assault or the harassment or anything like that. That hasn't changed. The things that have gotten better is that there's more people that are willing to listen, more people willing to be there for you, and more people that have stood up and said the same thing happened to me. The things that are changing aren't the things that are actually happening. And I think that's where and again, I might be wrong about that based on pure numbers and stuff like that. I don't have them in front of me or anything, but I think that harassment and sexual assault and sexual harassment and things like that in sports and sports media and in the industry, it's not something that people that are older than us or have been in the industry for a long time have experienced. It's something that people our age, people older than us, people way older than us, people younger than us have experienced.
Let's just dive into that to get some specifics out of here to inform some people. If you don't know what's going on, we're going to try to help fill in the blanks for you. So Thursday night, the Washington Post released this expose on the Washington football team where 15 female former employees of the organization came out and said they were sexually harassed while working there. And it kind of shook the entire world, I'd like to say. I wanted to say sports media industry, but I feel like that's totally not even doing it justice. It was sickening to read as a woman in sports, as we talked about before, and we'll continue to talk about for this little bonus content that we're going to give you guys for this. It's something that obviously hit close to home for Lily and I, and a lot of the credit should be given to Emily Applegate, who is the marketing coordinator before leaving the team in 2015. And she actually was the sole woman that spoke on the record for this issue. The Post stated that they recorded more than 40 interviews that added to this expose that they did. And not only were quotes included, but there were also official team documents and text messages that were shared with the Post. And it kind of gave them all the fire that they needed to ruin the reputation of some of these men. While Dan Snyder, the team owner, he was never accused directly. It was a lot of the upper executives in his circle, men such as Alex Santos, Richard Mann II, and the radio voice Larry Michael. So that's a lot. 15 women, lots of men with lots of power, doing things that are really gross.
Jess, I want you to do one thing for me.
Yeah.
Someone did this to me once, and I really liked it. Just like sit up straight, drop your shoulders, and just like take a deep breath. Because this is obviously extremely difficult to talk about.
I'm like wrenching over talking about it.
I know, because I noticed both you and I.
I was like cover myself, like
while you were talking, I literally could see both you and I just like kind of get really like tense and stuff. So I was like, okay, let's take a deep breath, settle, like chill. And if you're listening,
like,
and
yes,
you feel
I'm
like
reading
that,
accuracy, but I just it's something
it's
that
very
like
it's very tense.
Yeah, crawl off my body.
It's one of these things where it's like, I don't know where to begin, but I also don't know I don't know how to keep it short, because I could talk, honestly, I think endlessly about this, in that, like, I think it's very telling that you and I reading these things and you reading it now, like on, like live while we're recording, just the visibility and like how tense we both get about it. And like, just speaking to like, this is going to be a really kind of chill conversational episode, because I think it's a very difficult thing to talk about and to come at it. Obviously, we're coming at it with accuracy and facts, but to come at it more scientific, I think is a very difficult thing to do. It's kind of about sharing our experiences and our input. And so I think a big thing, like reflecting on it for me, is just like the reaction us and a lot of our friends had when this came out. When was it? Thursday night, Friday night. And that, like, I got a lot of texts from you and other people just like, we're gonna be okay, you know what I mean, like hang in there and stuff, just because like and I think that's like, obviously it's like, I feel horrible for these women that they went through that, and then I know it's not easy out there on the internet when you come out and with these things that have happened to you that people don't take very well. I'm trying to say that like very nicely and diplomatically, and it's really hard. But
none of it's like nice and diplomatic. I mean, even reading it is like it was just so raw of like what happened and out there and honest, that it was, as a woman, uncomfortable for me to read, because like this happens and it's real, and we've experienced things in such a short time that we've been in the industry so far, that for me personally, a little uncomfortable being a woman working in sports, especially so young. And like, I can only imagine how uncomfortable it probably is for a lot of men to read it, but I'm also like, good. But it made a lot of the guys that we know and our peers and people that we've worked with reach out and feel so moved that they were to like send us a text message.
Yeah, that they felt the need
to go on Twitter and give us shout outs.
Or people being like, I'm so sorry this is happening, which I don't want to sound like a complete cynic here. The Twitter shout outs and stuff like that, I've seen a few people have said this, and when I read it, I was like, yeah, that works. It's amazing, and it feels so awesome to feel so loved and supportive, and to know that so many people have your back. However, it's important to, while doing these things online and stuff, to let your actions speak to the same language, and that your actions need to be the same as what you're putting on social media and stuff. And that goes for a lot of things. That goes for any sort of social justice issues. Like whatever you're saying online in support of whatever movement, your actions have to back that up, because being performative doesn't do anything, but your actions do. And so while that stuff is great, and I encourage everybody to keep doing it and to keep spreading the love and stuff, like, and I guess, sorry to like just call everybody out, but like for men in the industry, like it starts with, people think that it's like, I think people might have the wrong idea that like, that people will sexually assault or sexually harass someone, and that's what happens. But it starts with little things. It starts with little comments. It starts with little comments about your appearance, or your credibility, or just any little things. And like,
that's what I meant earlier. Like, it's just clever now, I feel like. Sometimes,
yeah, and
like,
people think it's like being funny and stuff.
So funny.
And people laugh, and it's, I'm sure, and like I know people say things and they do not mean them. They mean them as a joke. However, that perpetuates a culture of excusing things like this. And so if you want to show your real support, you need to call your male friends out for things they're saying, things they're doing that make women uncomfortable. But
I don't even, I give people more credit than that. Like, it's like a joke and stuff like that. But you know when something's a joke and when the person is kind of being serious but hiding it as a joke, and you're like, haha, what?
I mean, we've both sat in classes where people have been like made a joke and it's dead silent. And I don't mean to like make light of the situation, but like it's this very kind of funny, awkward thing because someone says something and they're like laughing about it, but you're all kind of like looking around the room like, did you just think that wasn't okay
and
to say out loud?
And it's weird, and it's students, sometimes it's faculty, it's people you look up to, it's people in a position of power. And like in our classes, it was how many women were in our, maybe on a good day there were 4 of us, like 4 to 20 count from women to men. Sometimes it'd just be like the 2 of us.
Yeah, in my sports reporting class, which like Marist College insider tip, like that's like kind of the peak of like your sports comm, kind of like that's like the big one, I guess. I was the only girl in a class of 20 people. I was the only one. And not to sound weird, like I never felt weird about that. It never made me uncomfortable. I never felt like out of place at all, because I think I, at that point in my college career, had very much made my place.
Accepted it. And
I didn't feel uncomfortable about it. I didn't feel like, oh, I just feel like people have differing opinions. It was just very like, you're the only girl in this class. And it's like, no one ever put me on the spot like this, but like when women's issues come up, I feel like I'm the only voice for that.
It's like they all look to you. And it's
everyone like looks at you and you're just like,
when people
what?
Like when people bring up this person had assaulted his wife, or this issue about women came up in sports,
and everyone's dead silent.
And it's like, okay, like, yeah, we're 1 girl, 2 girls maybe in a class with all guys, and it's just like, what if we weren't there? Were we just all?
Were you just not going to talk about it? Yeah, well, because so speaking to that same example, would the jokes
be more crude if we weren't there?
Yeah,
like, and I'm gonna be honest, like I could take a joke, like
I've
built up this thick skin already, but it's just like,
I love jokes.
Like,
but like, there's
I love the shout outs on Twitter, but it's like, if those men that are shouting me out on Twitter and stuff aren't also like in a workplace setting, a classroom setting, or whatever, like saying,
speaking out against it,
that was effed up, or like, hey, this girl actually has something to say, like, let's stop looking at what she looks like, listen to what she's saying, then like, I don't want it. Like,
I think in that same situation, like
a
the
man
thing
who
that
sits silently by while women get harassed is not for the women.
Yeah. And I think bringing up that like same situation, the thing that does make me uncomfortable, and again, like I can deal with it, it's fine. Like I'm this sounds so messed up to say, I'm happy to deal with these uncomfortable situations so that other people don't have to, just because I feel like I can handle it and to a limit. But when things like that are brought up that are uncomfortable to talk about, And not only does everybody kind of look at you, but they don't say anything. And I'm just like, you don't have anything to say on like the issues of like sexual harassment in a locker room. You don't have anything to say to that. Like,
Like
you're not even gonna raise your hand and be like, I think that's messed up, because I think at that point, like, I know that's not the most intellectual comment.
Like,
it's not the most intellectual comment, but like, say it. Somebody say it. Because if I'm the only one in the room saying it, if I'm the only one sitting there saying,
because you're a woman, you have to say.
If I'm the only girl in a class and the professor and I are the only ones acknowledging something like this, that's a problem. I need people to speak up. I need people. I know it's uncomfortable. I know you feel weird, and I know it's awkward. And you know why it's awkward for a lot of men? Because their friends are the ones doing it. And they can be as great as they are and be their allies in their own way. But if you're not calling your friends out for the toxic behaviors that they bring into the industry and in the world, then you're part of the problem. And I think a lot of my positive experiences have been because I've had really great professors that will be like, so no one's going to say anything. Like, I've had professors say that, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness someone gets it. Like, my professors, I think I can speak wholly, have been just like the most awesome in calling out issues like this. And I'm super grateful for stuff like that, because that's not the case everywhere. Not to be a Marist plug here, but like, shout out to them, because I think
we rock.
They did their part to speak out against it in class and stuff like that. And by even bringing up, like, I'm sure there are sports classes at schools where they don't even talk about stuff like this. And that's a huge issue.
Well,
and I'm tired. I'm just tired. And my heart's beating really fast. And I feel nauseous because, like, it's just at some point, like, and this was a big thing circling all the way back to, like, us, what we were saying earlier is, like, in all of our conversations, Thursday, Friday, whatever, like, the like weird unspoken thing I think we have, like, between us and between, like, our friends and people we talk to about stuff, is that it's like the sexual harassment in the media. It's not an if, it's a when. And we're all always just on our toes waiting for it to happen, because statistically it will. And that's the problem, and that's what needs to change. And it starts with every individual and how they treat people and how they call out other people's toxic behaviors and their own toxic behaviors.
To do something like with this conversation, like, I love that we're having it, and I hope that whoever is still listening at this point is really ready to hear some things that spit on their life. I just want to think and, like, reference the article again of the things that happened specifically that they mentioned in this article are things that happen so casually to so many women, whether it's at a major NFL organization or whatever place it happens to often, and you don't even realize, as a woman who's had questionable things said to her in the workplace, you walk away from the conversation and you're like, what? And you think back and you're like, wow, was that really, like, as obvious as you thought it was? Like, so to wrap up my rambling here. So
okay, we're all just rambling now.
Alex Santos, in the article, who was accused of sexual harassment, he was accused by 6 former employees and 2 reporters who cover the team of making inappropriate remarks about their bodies, asking them if they were romantically interested in him, according to the Post. Richard Mann, former assistant director of pro personnel, was caught with some text messages, and he and his colleagues were debating whether a female employee's boobs had been done. Dude, like, this is the same way this is your workspace. This is my workspace too. I'm not just some pretty girl that's hired around to walk around for your entertainment. Like,
yeah, and I think
strange. Like,
people often
don't ask a girl out in work, or, like, don't ask if, like, who they're interested in, and it's like, as a woman, it's like, it's so weird, because as a woman in sports, like, you kind of have become, like, acclimated to this, like, guy talk type of vibe and stuff like that.
You're taught to, like, be successful, be one of the guys. Like, be one of the guys.
But
and
it's
like,
a fine line because I
yeah,
can't talk the same stuff that a guy can, because if I do, even if I'm totally joking, it's going to be
you're
seen
like,
as
but
like,
you feel like you're
yo,
betraying
she's
yourself.
into me. Like, and then it gives guys the wrong message. Like, if I'm open to have these conversations, and I might be open for something like else that's obviously I'm not interested in. It's just, it's so casual. Like, even like texting with like your boss, like how Richard Mann was caught with these text messages. Like, I wouldn't, like, texting is so casual now, especially like even in the workplace, to have like a conversation with people with text
Mhm.
messages.
Get a
Previously it
quick,
used to
yeah.
be emails, but sometimes texting and phone calls is faster. But then it's like, ooh, like, do I want to give this person my phone
So
number?
that's a really like good point, because I think that another part of this is that it doesn't just come from
Sets
other
us
people in
back
the
a
media.
little.
It comes in the athletes too. And that's something that I feel like people that are really into like in on the conversation know, but not a lot of people might know, is that like the way you do your job as a woman in sports is so much more meticulous and so much more thought out than the way I think a lot of men would think to do it. In that, when it comes to a source, if your source is an athlete, typically with any source, you're like, what's your number so we can follow up, or what's your email, whatever. And that's something for me. And I think most women are like, I don't want them to take this the wrong way. I've heard women tell me that they don't do interviews over dinner because they don't want to give people the wrong idea. And you know what the problem is? That nobody should be taking the wrong idea from anything. If you're taking it the wrong way, that's on you. You can
You're weird.
like, that's weird. It's weird if you're like, she's asking me out to dinner, she's into me for an interview. And that's like, it shouldn't be a woman's responsibility to have to think about, I don't want to ask for his phone number. I'm only going to ask for a work number or an email because I don't want him to take it the wrong way. You shouldn't be taking it the wrong way to begin with. How many people have your phone number that you haven't hit on? Probably a lot. And so just because she's a woman asking for your phone number, A, doesn't mean she's into you, and B,
And
why do you immediately
pretty.
think that? Like, that's an issue if you immediately think that. And so,
It's
like,
just like,
it's so, okay, let's think a little bit more productively here.
I could make groans into this microphone all day over it. But seriously,
I feel like I need to take a nap. Ooh.
It's difficult because, I mean, we are thinking more about what we're doing and what we're saying, what we're wearing. Like
oh yeah, the wearing thing. People think like
this industry and
in shorts and a t-shirt, in shorts and a t-shirt, they're good to go. And I'm like,
if I wear shorts and a t-shirt to work,
it's taken the wrong way. And now first of all, let's get one thing straight. I'm all for professional
on fire.
I'm all for like professionals in the workplace. Don't wear shorts and a t-shirt to work.
No,
wear something nice.
I'm
Look
not
presentable.
saying I would. Employers who are listening to this, I would never do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, let's start with professionalism in all aspects. In like, don't hit on your coworkers aspects, and in just like, dress nice, whatever. But then I'm also thinking like, even in dressing nice, I think for so many hours about it. I'm like, I don't want to wear that because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. But I don't want to wear this.
Does this shoulder make you uncomfortable?
I don't want to wear this because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. And it gets to a point where it is just like, it's exhausting because I just feel like every single thing you do, every move you make, you have to think a lot about it. And it's unfair. It makes it a lot harder for women to break in and become successful in the industry. And it's just exhausting. Like, it's exhausting having to think about every single thing you do just so you're not harassed at your job.
Yes. And like, look, it happened. It's horrible. I'd like a sorry. I'm sure a bunch of other women would like a sorry, especially
and a commitment to be better.
And it's just like, what I want, my call to action with all of this would be, don't just sit there and let these comments make you uncomfortable. And that's something like I can take as a woman, and I want the men to think about, because if a comment or a joke makes me uncomfortable, there's a high chance that it's made like
that
two or
it's
three
made a
other
lot of
people
other
in the
people
room uncomfortable.
because
So
my bar for
like
uncomfortable
say
is very low.
something. Like I feel very outspoken. That's why I'm sitting here making a podcast with you, shooting the shit and like talking about whatever the hell I want to talk about, because I am confident enough to do so. And I hope that when the next time some guy tries to say something slick to me, I would be able to tell them to F off
And
or
that's
something.
the other thing is I think you and I are both very.
But I don't know, Lily. I really honestly
No,
don't
and
know,
that's what I'm
because
saying is
I've
that
been
like
put in scenarios where like I've received uncomfortable conversations. Like I've had uncomfortable conversations, like things that are just not a joke and everybody knows it's not a joke made towards me. Like, and I've just been an intern.
yeah.
I haven't
And I
done
think
anything crazy.
that's my
And
point
that's
is that I
gross.
think
But
like we're both people, and again, this doesn't mean that every woman in sports or any woman anywhere needs to be this way or should be this way. If you're not, that's completely okay. You don't have to be. It's not your job to tell people not to say inappropriate things to you. It's their job to not say inappropriate things to you. But being someone that I think I've always been very comfortable being outspoken, I think you have as well. When you're put in the position and you're standing there and someone says something really messed up to you, you almost like go blank. Just everything you've been like,
and
if
you
someone
just
ever
don't
said that
have
to me,
anything
I'd
to
tell
say
them to shut up.
because
Like it goes away. Your mind just goes blank and you're just like, oh my God, I can't, like, I'm so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. And so like as confident and outgoing and outspoken as you can be, when you're put in a situation, you're just like,
well, the whole thing is, it's like you don't, even for me, I don't even ever, when I walk into wherever I go for work, I'm never thinking I'm a woman or I
yeah.
am one of two women, if not one of one woman here. I never really think that until something like that happens. Then you're suddenly very aware that you're wearing the pants that you're wearing the shoes that you're wearing, your makeup's done this way, and you're like, whoa, like, what did I do? Like, that's the first thing that
Yeah, you're
like you
like,
kind of
why is
think
this
of.
happening to me?
And that's super like ruining to your confidence. So like what I would want is like, even for the men like out there who hear things that make them uncomfortable, like just be like, dude, that's not cool. I mean, easier said than done, but still, like, if you, like I said earlier, like, if you want to be like on the clout train of like, yeah, women in sports are
On the
awesome,
clout train.
like, but you're not going to say anything. Like,
Yeah.
I hope that all the people who have said nice things after all of this came out and have taken a stand with women in sports and supporting women outside of sports and in sports, supporting women in general. I hope that they stay true to that. And when push comes to shove, they can actually stand up and do the right thing. That I don't mean stand up and tell somebody to buzz off, but I mean like stand up and be like pull someone to the side and be like, the way you said that, even like you didn't hear it, but everyone else heard it come out of your mouth. That's a little out of line. Like,
and also,
I would work on that.
Yeah, and like two things before I think I want, like, let's get to like the more productive of like what do we do? How do we move forward? Part of the conversation is that one, like sexual assault cases very rarely end with the assaulter being with having gone through any sort of punishment for their crime. So let's just like get that one thing out when people are like, tell the police, like, why don't you go to cops? It doesn't, I'm sorry, we all know what happened with Brock Turner. He served 3 months in prison for violently raping someone while she was unconscious. So let's all take stock in the fact that these things more often than not, A, go unnoticed, and B, when they are noticed, there are no consequences for these actions. Men aren't fired, men aren't reprimanded, men aren't arrested for these crimes. And like, I'm not saying like, it's just really like, there's very rarely any sort of consequence for something that is so heinous as sexual assault. It very rarely happens. So acknowledge that, take stock in that, remember that. And then I think we all need to do better. So like, I think let's, on a more positive note of this, how do we move forward? How do we be better? And
Yeah.
I have
So
some,
like we've rambled, but
yeah,
now
I
that you
have a little
know
bit of
how it
advice,
feels
I
to be
think.
us sometimes.
Yeah, so like I know we did a lot of rambling and we got a little heated and a little upset over the fact that this is happening. And so how do
I'm
we move
sweating.
forward? I'm sweating a lot too. So here's my little statement of like how do we prevent this from happening? A, support women in sports, read what women write, watch things they make, don't write someone off because or their credentials because they're a woman. B, call out your friends when your friends say something offensive. That goes for all things.
Wait, that was all A?
No, we're on B now. We're on B. Call your friends out when they say something offensive. That just doesn't go for women in sports. That goes for everything. Like, hold your friends accountable for their actions and the things they say. And now here's the big thing of that I want to say. If someone says something offensive about women in sports or about anything, don't only call your friends out when there are women around. Call them out if they say something in private to you. Just because no one heard it doesn't mean it's not creating a culture of toxic masculinity, making it very difficult for women in sports. That's where it like kind of starts, is not just things people say out loud or that they say to women, things they say to you in private, things they say when you're just hanging out and you're being friends. Don't let your friends say offensive things and think that it's okay, because it's not. And
you
maybe
never
they don't
know who's
know. Call them
listening.
out and teach them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Teach them. And it's like, you never know who's listening, because tough pill to swallow, guys. Like, some kids really are looking up to you as role models, especially like any day, any person is probably a role model to someone else. But like, especially in sports, like we have these athletes, we have these people who are on TV that we view them as idols. And like I did when I was a kid, and I'm sure there's millions of other younger boys who like view these men as idols. And it's like, if they hear you saying these things and they see you acting this way, it's
they
like,
think it's okay.
Then they think it's okay. And then like there's gonna be another Jessica and Lily someday sitting here at 22 when we're friggin' 78, like slugging back wine in our rocking chairs, like, and these women are gonna be talking about the same BS that we're dealing with today. And like
that,
please,
and that's like,
I don't want that to happen.
and that's a thing of like, okay, that's what men can do to help stop this problem. And a lot of it is men listen to men. And that's really unfortunate that
I'll
that's
tell you
the way
what, I'm
it is.
not going to stop showing my shoulders. People have been telling me that for years, and I'm never going to stop showing off my shoulders.
But then on what we, Jess and I, or other women in sports can do is the obvious: uplift each other, be supportive of each other. Like that's the only way we get
to hire
anything
more women, and I
hire
know
more women. Find them. People always say there's not enough women applying. You have to go out and seek them out. Find them, because they're out there, and there are women that will be fantastic coaches. They'll be fantastic.
And like, I beg to differ. Like, I've applied for a lot of jobs out there. Like, I'm a woman who
there's
needs
no one
a
in the
job.
candidate pool, and they're like, I don't know. We're in like an economic crisis. I'm sure there's plenty of women in the candidate pool. Miss me with that excuse, all right?
Yeah.
But so seriously, hire women. Have women on your hiring committees. Have women in positions of power that are making decisions, because that's
women in
HR.
Like,
yeah, and support each other, like be there for each other, uplift each other, because we want to live in a world where this has to be the last podcast about people's sexual harassment experiences in the workplace.
But it's not going to be. And
it's like, not going to be, but hopefully we get to a place.
But I guess I can deal with it.
Yeah, hopefully we get to a place where, and Jess has said this a lot, and I'm going to give her credit for this, where she keeps saying like she wants to make a world where someone can look up to her and not have to worry about being sexually harassed in their place of work.
I'm a badass loudmouth for everyone that will come after me.
And so I think just, again, like support each other, call people out on their toxic behaviors, educate them. You don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to be like, hey, that was messed up. Be like, hey, what you said isn't okay.
I'm only mean when I'm having a bad day.
That was not a not okay thing to say. I understand you might have thought of it as a joke. However, people take it seriously, and it's a very serious thing to say, and then it perpetuates a culture where sexual assault and sexual harassment happen.
It's the best, way, like, people can't say jokes over text. It's like the tone of it is what made it not a joke.
And I'll be honest, like one of the best, I'll never forget this. One time, a male friend of mine made some joke, and I don't remember if like people didn't take it well, or if people did or whatever. But he came to me later that day and said, "Hey, I just want to check with you. Was that not okay for me to say? I don't remember how it went out. I honestly don't really remember exactly what the joke was.
Were
But
Rotten Tomatoes thrown?
the thing is like I don't totally remember. I just remember that like he made a joke. I don't remember being offended by it, to be honest. So it might not have been like an offensive thing to say. But he came to me later and was like, "Was that a messed up thing for me to say?" And I was like, "Wow, you're even questioning that like maybe it wasn't, but you want to make sure and like you're learning and like so like that's the other thing. Ask questions. Like if you don't know if something's going to be taken the right way as a joke or not, like ask somebody. Like people will tell you. So I'm going to be done rambling for now. I'm just going to keep saying like support women in sports, support each other, be
The
wise,
last thing I do want to stay on this
read a
topic,
lot, just keep reading. Yes, Jess, you
on
got
the
it.
note of hiring other women, when this all came out and Dan Snyder said, I want to begin a new culture, or was it Ron Rivera that said that with the hiring? They want to start a new era and forget all the bad things that they've done, as if like we're living in a fantasy world where that just freaking happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I thought it was a load of BS, and I just rolled my eyes and closed my phone when I read it. I was like, ew, thanks for nothing. And then today, Washington's NFL team hired former NBC Sports Washington anchor Julia Donaldson. She's going to be the new vice president of media and their game day radio voice, one of the game day radio voices. And she's taking, I guess she's not taking over the position that Larry Michael had. He's like, she's not doing play-by-play, but she's basically replacing him after he got like booted the hell out of there, after everyone realized he was disgusting with a capital D. She's the first full-time member of an NFL team's radio booth. And that's just what I mean. Like that kind of gave me some credit, because then it's like, okay, then she's in charge of hiring Larry Michael's replacement. She's in charge of all these people where she could set the standard, because guess what? She's a woman, but she's the fucking boss, and she's going to set the tone for the way all this is going to go down. And just having a woman in such high position there is like, she'll be the woman who's sitting in a room of men saying like, no, we're not going to freaking do that, because like, that's just, no, we're not going to do it. Like, that's kind of like sexist, like a little weird. I don't want any part of it, like whatever. So that is the type of thing that like makes me feel good inside. So it's like,
I think like just in summation, believe women, support women, and be nice to everybody, and don't say messed up things.
You can be funny, just don't be like gross.
You can be funny and not be offensive. I think that people just don't get that sometimes. People are like, oh, no one can take a joke anymore. No, I can take jokes. I don't want to hear your offensive jokes, because that's
just not funny.
They weren't funny anyways. So believe women, support women, be kind to one another. This has been a kind of bonus episode of Throwin Down with Jess and Lily. Any closing remarks, Jess?
It's never just sports.
It's never just sports. So thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back with a little bit more of a regular episode soon. And thanks for listening.
Hope you enjoyed.
Do some reading, do some thinking, some reflecting, all of that.
Baby yoga.
And yeah, and I guess we'll see you guys later. So have a good one.
Later.